Hey you, welcome along to another deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today we are really diving deep into, well, an icon of Japan. We're talking about Mount Fuji.
Absolutely. We're aiming to cover, pretty much everything essential you'd need to know if you're thinking about visiting, or even if you're just fascinated by it.
Yeah, it's more than just a mountain, isn't it? It's a global symbol.
Definitely. So we've gathered information from various places about Fuji and the areas right around it.
And our mission really is to kind of distill all that down. Cut through the noise, avoid that information overload you sometimes get.
Exactly. We want to give you the core knowledge, maybe spark some of those aha moments, We'll cover some surprising facts and definitely some practical advice, too.
Okay, so let's start with the mountain itself. Mount Fuji, the icon.
Right. Picture this almost perfect cone shape. It's in central Honshu, Japan's main island.
Location-wise, it's about, 60 miles or so west of Tokyo or Yokohama?
Yeah, roughly that. And it is seriously impressive in height, 12,388 feet. That's 3,776 meters. Japan's highest peak, no question.
And that beautiful shape, it comes from its volcanic nature, right? It's technically dormant.
Dormant, yes. The last major eruption was quite a while ago, back in 1707.
Yeah.
But geologically speaking, it's still classified as active. It hasn't just switched off.
Okay, so unpack that a bit. It's part of this larger volcanic system.
That's right, the Fuji volcanic zone. It's all tied to tectonic plate movement.
Yeah.
Basically, you've got the Pacific plate sliding under the Philippine plate deep down in the Nankai Trough.
And that massive geological action generates the heat, the molten rock.
Precisely,
Yeah.
which eventually creates volcanoes like Fuji.
And even though it's dormant, that 1707 eruption had a huge impact, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Ash fell as far away as Edo, Old Tokyo. Imagine that. It really changed the landscape nearby, even burying some villages.
Wow. A real reminder of the power simmering beneath.
Definitely. And what's interesting is that a pretty big earthquake hit just 49 days before that eruption. Suggests a connection there. And even much more recently, the huge 2011 earthquake near Sendai. It actually triggered a noticeable aftershock on Fuji's southern side.
So it's still responding to geological shifts. It's not completely sleeping.
Not at all. Still part of a very dynamic system.
Now, the name itself, Fuji, it sounds ancient.
It is.
Yeah.
First shows up in records around the 8th century. Where it comes from is, well, a little debated.
Any leading theories?
One strong possibility links it to the indigenous Ainu language. Maybe Fire Mountain combined with San, the Japanese word for mountain.
Fire Mountain. Makes sense.
But the actual kanji characters used today, they suggest something more like good fortune or abundance.
Interesting. And in Japan, people almost always say Fujisan, right?
Yeah, Fujisan. It feels very respectful, personal almost.
We sometimes hear Mount Fujiyama in English, which is a bit redundant.
Kind of, yeah. It literally means Mount Fuji Mountain, like saying pin number. But, it comes from a place of admiration.
And that admiration runs deep in Japanese culture.
It really does. It's more than just scenery. It's considered sacred, a symbol of Japan itself. Many Japanese people feel a real spiritual connection to it.
And climbing it is a big deal, like a pilgrimage.
For centuries, yes. There are shrines all the way up, even near the crater at the very top.
Wow.
And historically, it's worth noting, women weren't allowed to climb until the Meiji Restoration in the late 1800s.
A sign of the times back then.
Definitely. And even now, there's a specific climbing season, basically July 1st to August 26th. That's when it's generally safest.
Okay, so how did this massive, iconic mountain actually form? There are some old stories about earthquakes.
Yeah, those are more folklore. The real geological story is much longer, maybe starting 2.6 million years ago.
Whoa.
And it's actually built on top of even older volcanic structures. We're talking maybe 65 million years back for the base layer.
Incredible. So it wasn't just one event.
Not at all. There were precursor volcanoes.
Hmm.
Komitake is one. It forms part of the northern slope now. And Ashitakeyama to the southeast is another older one.
So Fuji grew up between these older mountains.
Pretty much. The Mount Fuji we see today, that classic stratovolcano cone, started forming seriously about 400,000 years ago.
Okay.
Think of it in stages. Komitake is the base. Then came Ko-Fuji, or Old Fuji, most active around 100,000 years ago.
Ando.
Then Shin-Fuji, New Fuji, kicked off its main activity about 10,000 years ago. It's the eruptions from Shin-Fuji, the lava and ash layers that built up that beautiful symmetrical cone shape we recognize.
That's what stratovolcanoes do, right? Build up in layers.
Exactly. Layer upon layer of ejected material.
And that instantly recognizable shape, it's famous worldwide. largely thanks to art.
Oh, absolutely. You can't talk Fuji without mentioning Hokusai.
The 36 views of Mount Fuji, those woodblock prints.
Yes, from the 1820s, 1830s. Part of that ukiyo-e movement, focusing on landscapes and daily life. They were huge.
What made them so special?
Well, Hokusai showed Fuji from all these different angles and different weather, different seasons. It wasn't just the mountain, it was the mountain's relationship with everything around it.
Like its personality.
Kind of, yeah. His use of perspective, capturing its moods. It really cemented Fuji's iconic status, even influencing art in the West later on.
Amazing how art can shape perception like that.
It truly is.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move from the mountain itself to the area right at its base, the Fuji 5 Lakes, Fuji Goko.
Right. These lakes act almost like natural viewing platforms, don't they?
Perfectly put. They were formed ages ago when lava flows blocked rivers, and they offer some of the most stunning classic views of Fuji.
There are 5 of them running sort of east to west: Yamanaka, Kawaguchi, Sai, Shuji, and Motosu.
Correct. And Lake Kawaguchi is probably the most famous, partly because it's the lowest elevation.
That means you get that amazing reflection, right? The upside-down Fuji in the water.
Exactly. The classic mirror Fuji. You see it everywhere. Postcards, photos. It's very photogenic.
And Kawaguchi is quite developed for visitors.
Yeah, it's very accessible. You can take boat cruises, rent bikes to cycle around the shore. Plenty of places to just sit and soak in the view.
And there's a ropeway, too.
The Mount Fuji Panoramic Ropeway, yes. It's a cable car that takes you up to an observation deck.
Better views from up high.
Fantastic views. Gives you a real sense of scale. Plus, there's usually a cafe up there, so you can grab a coffee while you admire the landscape. Highly recommended.
Okay, what about the other lakes? Lake Yamanaka.
That's the largest of the 5. It's also a really popular resort area. Quite lively, lots of activities.
And Lake Motosu. That one's famous for something specific.
It is. Take a look at a Japanese 1,000 yen note. The picture of Mount Fuji on there. That view is from Lake Motosu.
Oh, cool. I'll have to check that out. So the 5 lakes are definitely key for those postcard views.
Absolutely essential. But the area has so much more to offer beyond just the lake shores, if you want to dig a bit deeper.
Yeah, what else is a must-see around Fuji?
Well, there's Aokigahara Forest. It's often called the Sea of Trees.
Sounds intriguing, mysterious.
It has that vibe, yeah.
Wow.
Incredibly dense forest, really unique tree formations. It feels quite otherworldly, but also very tranquil. There are good hiking trails through parts of it.
And caves, too.
Yes, within the forest, you can find the Fugaku Wind Cave and the Narusawa Ice Cave. They're natural lava tubes, pretty fascinating geological spots, and nice and cool inside.
Nice. Okay, what about something more colorful?
For color, head to Uishi Park. It's on the northern side of Lake Kawaguchi.
Flowers.
Lots of them, depending on the season. It's most famous for Shibazakura, this vibrant pink moss phlox.
Oh, I think I've seen pictures. It creates this amazing pink carpet with Fuji in the background.
That's the one. Usually blooms in spring.
Yeah.
Absolutely stunning for photos. But other flowers bloom at different times too, so it's often quite scenic.
Okay, flowers are great. What if someone wants, like, thrills?
Well, for adrenaline junkies, there's Fuji-Q Highland.
The amusement park.
Exactly. It's known for some seriously intense roller coasters. And the bonus is, some of them are designed so you get these incredible, if very quick, views of Mount Fuji while you're riding.
Roller coasters with a view. That's a unique combo.
It certainly is.
All right, moving on from thrills, what about that super famous pagoda view?
Ah, yes. The Trado Pagoda. That's in Fuji Yoshida City.
That's the picture everyone wants, isn't it? The red pagoda, Fuji behind it.
Pretty much. It's probably one of the most photographed spots in Japan. Especially beautiful during cherry blossom season in spring, with the pink flowers framing everything.
Worth the climb, I hear. There are steps.
There are quite a few steps up the hillside, yes. But the view from the top, totally worth the effort. Unforgettable.
Okay, one more maybe. Something cultural.
For a taste of traditional life, check out Saiko Iyashi no Sato Nenba.
That's a bit of a mouthful. What is it?
It's basically an open-air museum, a recreated traditional village on the edge of Lake Saiko. It has these lovely thatch-proof cottages.
And what's inside the cottages?
They've been converted into little galleries showing local crafts, shops selling regional goodies, and some restaurants serving traditional food. It's really charming and gives you a glimpse into old Japan, plus more beautiful Fuji views across the lake.
Sounds lovely. So yeah, clearly tons to do beyond just staring at the mountain, though that's great too.
Definitely. Lakes, forests, caves, flowers, thrills, culture. It's a really diverse region.
Okay, we've covered a lot of amazing places. Let's talk about putting it all together. How do you actually do all this efficiently? Make the most of a trip.
Right, planning is key. Based on what we've discussed, a logical flow for, say, a multi-day trip could start at Lake Kawaguchi. It's kind of a hub.
So get those iconic reflection shots, maybe do the boat trip.
Yeah, soak that in first, then maybe head at the panoramic ropeway for the overview. That gives you a good grounding.
And from Kawaguchi, other things are close by.
Exactly. Oishi Park is right there on the lake, perfect if the flowers are in bloom. And Saiko Yashino Sado Nemba isn't far either for that cultural village experience. You could potentially do those on the same day or spread them out.
What about the forest and caves? Okigahara.
If you're into nature and that slightly mysterious vibe, you'd want to set aside maybe half a day or more for Okigahara. Explore the marked trails, see the wind cave or ice cave.
Stick to the trails, though, right?
Absolutely. Stick to the marked paths. It's a dense forest.
And Fuji Q Highland, the amusement park.
That's probably a full-day activity if you're into theme parks. Plan it as its own day if roller coasters are high on your list.
Okay. Now, you mentioned timing for flowers. Season matters a lot, doesn't it?
Hugely. If seeing the Shiba Sakura at Oishi Park is a priority, you have to aim for spring. Check the typical blooming times, usually April, May-ish.
Same for the cherry blossoms around Chiredo Pagoda.
Yes, also typically spring, often early to mid-April depending on the year. Seeing that scene with the blossoms is incredible, but it requires precise timing.
And for climbing Fuji itself.
Strictly July and August, that's the official season. Trying to climb outside that window is generally unsafe due to weather, snow, and lack of support facilities.
So if summiting is the goal, you've got that narrow 2-month window, and you probably need to book mountain huts well in advance.
Absolutely. They get booked up solid. Planning is essential for a climb.
Got it. Now, one thing we haven't really touched on because, well, the information wasn't explicitly there in our material, is getting around the area and daily costs.
That's true. The materials we focused on detailed the sites and history brilliantly, but specifics on, say, the bus network around the lakes or typical accommodation costs weren't part of this particular deep dive.
Right. So listeners would need to research current transport options, buses, maybe rental cars, and budget accordingly based on recent travel information. We have to stick to what we reviewed.
Exactly. Our focus was the what and why of Fuji's attractions based on the available info. Practical logistics like transport timetables and daily budgets require up-to-date, separate research.
Okay, good clarification.
Yeah.
So let's wrap this up. Key takeaways for planning that amazing Fuji trip.
Number 1, Fuji 5 lakes for the views, especially Kawaguchi. Don't miss it.
Number 2, explore beyond the lakes. Aokigahara, Oishi Park, Chiredo Pagoda, Saiko Nemba offer really different experiences.
Number 3, timing is everything. Check seasonal highlights like flowers or the climbing season to match your interests.
It's about hitting that sweet spot of location and season.
You got it. That combination unlocks the best experiences.
So hopefully this deep dive gives everyone a really solid starting point for planning their own exploration.
Yeah, we've covered the geology, the cultural weight, the must-see spots. Hopefully it's a good foundation.
And maybe a final thought to leave folks with as you think about maybe visiting or just appreciate Fuji from afar. Consider its endurance. This mountain has stood for millennia, inspired artists, drawn pilgrims. It represents something powerful.
Yeah. Resilience, beauty, maybe even a kind of calm majesty.
So the question to ponder is, what might Mount Fuji come to mean to you personally? What connection could you find with this incredible place?
A great question to reflect on.
Indeed. Well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring.